Rob, it's September 8th, and you haven't picked any grapes yet. What's going on?
We haven't harvested a thing yet, Andy. We'll pick a few tons of Pinot Gris from a very young block in a warm spot tomorrow. But we had a cold, wet, late spring, and things just aren't quite ready to go yet. I have a feeling that it's going to be next week before we do anything in any particular volume around here.
How many tons will you pick this year?
We'll do probably about 900.
900 tons.
Yeah, which is a moderate quantity, really, when you look at what's out there.
Right. You pick grapes from at least 5 appellations in Washington. Everything from Merlot to Riesling to Zinfandel to Orange Muscat. And different lots, different ripenesses. How in the world do you keep all that straight?
Well, it becomes kind of a Zen exercise at some point. It's all in your mind, and you take it out when you need it. But at some point, logistics becomes the driving force of. It's not so much attempting to get an absolute optimum. It's bringing things in when you can and when it can be done. Treating the fruit in the best way possible, and all of that being said, it has to be fundamentally nearly perfect to begin with, but then it's a question of juggling it somewhere into the system. At some point, of course, you have to have an empty fermenter for it. So, and the picking crew, whether it's hand picking or mechanical picking, has to be ready to go. So it's a bit of a game. And when we work with large vineyards with a lot of clients, it's a matter sometimes of getting in line. So you want to always be honest and direct with people about exactly when you want things, and you don't make an appointment and cancel it 10 times. That gets you put at the back of the list.
2 years ago, you were picking last week of August. This year, you're almost to the 10th day of September. In your 30-plus years of experience with Washington grapes, how does this compare?
Well, this is pretty much normal. I think, an average start date, if I could think back on it, is pretty much September 15th. For example, in 2001, we started grapes on September 11th. Pretty easy to remember that year.
Cabernet, that's kind of a late ripener.
Yeah, Cabernet typically we don't see before October.
Okay. And what areas are you liking with Cabernet these days?
Well, I'm still a great fan of the Alder Ridge, Alderdale area. I'm also a great fan of the river bench north of Pasco. Sagemore, to name names, just does a magnificent job with Cabernet. I think, I'm more and more convinced it's not the location as much as the attention and the farming. I see great similarities across much and even most of the Columbia Valley. There are some areas that are distinctly a little cooler and some that are distinctly warmer, but to me the important factor is not what side of the street, but who's driving the tractor, if you would. I'm maybe not spouting the party line there, but that's how I see it.
You look at your lineup, and you've now got Sangiovese Rosé, you've got Barbera, you've got Zinfandel. You have any Italian blood in you, or is that just something you're interested in?
I don't, but, Italian wines are, when you look at global wine market, it's hugely important. If you've ever been to New York City, they don't know anything else. So, those varieties are really critical to the world wine scene, and it's fun to play with them. And really, I've, having been in this business close to 35 years, it's only in the last few that I've become really consciously aware of what true Italian wine tastes like, and it's lots of fun. It's surprisingly tart and clean and very food friendly, and I think they're fun grapes to work with.
Well, and you and Deborah seem to think a lot about food and how the wines go with that, so that's got to be a lot of fun for you.
Yeah, that's always, at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, is to make something that works out on the table and is part of a good meal situation. And, it's wines that do wonderfully in judgings but don't taste good with food are hard to place.
The next 60 days is going to be pretty busy for you. Do you look at harvest as a sprint or a marathon?
Well, I think we have to look at it as a marathon because, of course, if you look at it as a sprint, you kind of poop out. But when you're in this business, the year starts about now. This is the one seminal event of the year that you gauge the rest of the year by. It's not New Year's Eve. It's when you start picking grapes.
All right. Anything else to add, Rob?
No, I can't think of anything critical this year other than I always look carefully at the flavors of other fruits in a season. And I had the best sweet cherries I've ever had this year based on intensity of flavor, and peaches have been magnificent too. So I'm looking forward to some really good flavors in the grapes. It's just a matter of catching them at the right time and not screwing them up.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
You bet.